about to take this thing to the next level, baby. Come on now, let's get fired up. Here we go.
Some strong words of encouragement for his teammates in the huddle. Welcome, everyone. This is the NBA on 2K Sports. I'm Kevin Harlan, ready to bring you all the action along with Clark Kellogg and Steve Kerr. So glad you can join us from the beautiful Target Center, the home of the Timberwolves in Minneapolis. A quick check now at the starting five for both teams. And guys, check out Ricky Rubio. What can we expect here?
And Kevin, when the opposing team is bringing the ball up, they can't get careless when he's on the floor because he will pounce on a lazy pass or a lazy dribble, and he'll be heading the other way in a heartbeat.
And what amazing skills he has as a distributor, too, Steve. He doesn't just pass the ball effectively. He does it in spectacular fashion, too.
And, of course, Derek Williams. Since he's out of the picture, the team will have to fill his shoes.
Kevin, I thought he was really an important player for them, undervalued and not given the credit he deserved. That's not to say the trade was a mistake, but I think they'll miss him more than you might expect.
Well, chemistry-wise, I think you're onto something. He was a glue guy. He held things together for them in quite a few areas. So not having him around might take some getting used to.
Now, here's Rubio. Following the miss by Tony Parker. Shoots the three, and it's Kevin Love with the three. Love's got himself on the board with three there.
Coach Popovich was fine last season for sitting out his top players in a nationally televised matchup against the Heat. I certainly understand the league's posture there, and it was a lot said about it. Yet, for a veteran team like the Spurs with championship aspirations, I understand resting key players during the course of the regular season.
Boy, he crashed the boards with purpose right there. Well-deserved second-chance points for him.
Minnesota with the ball. They want to keep rolling here following the win against the Thunder.
They looked very stable, pretty much from the get-go. There's a solid output, solid effort. And, you know, sometimes you'll see some inconsistencies come up in a road game, but they were pretty solid there.
I was very impressed with the balance they displayed, guys. Different people carrying the load, scoring, making assists, unselfish play. Everything was working for them to get that victory.
And that one's good. And back to that fine for Popovich, $250,000. Steve, that'll leave a dent.
Yeah, no doubt. But, you know, Popovich enjoys tweaking the league at times. This was clearly an effort to do that. But, look, I think it's good for him to actually, you know, kind of let the league know every once in a while that if you're going to give us that kind of schedule with my older team, I'm going to sit them down once in a while.
The shot's good from Magician. And what do you guys think about his comments after their last game?
Well, I thought the remarks were perfect, Kevin, because he basically showed thanks for the accolades he's gotten, acknowledged that he was pleased to be recognized, but at the same time said, you know, he has to keep pressing forward and he has to keep getting better. And that's what all the best players do. They constantly work on their games.
That's good.
Well, Kawhi Leonard is a do-it-all type of player. I mean, defense, rebounding. His role on the Spurs hasn't been that of a big-time scorer, but he is efficient scoring the basketball. He's just the kind of player that helps you win games at a high level.
For San Antonio, they've gone 2 of 5 here, making 40% so far to start out the game. The shot by Ginobili. Rubio with the rebound.
Tell you what, you can be really frustrating as a shooter. All you can do is grimace because you just can't find the range.
And for the Spurs, a team with plenty of scoring. You know, do you think Kawhi Leonard, as we kind of circle him here, could become a big-time scorer in the NBA?
I don't know, because it's a much different deal to play off of other people or being the center of attention yourself. And right now, Leonard is in a terrific position playing off of Parker and Duncan and Ginobili.
Here is Parker. Following the basket by Kevin Love. Splitter misses.
Well, one of his issues is he's a player that just does not excel at fighting through contact on his way to the rim.
Here's Magician, covered by Parker. Magician. So he gets the whistle. Contact on the way up, and 2 shots coming up.
You know, the Wolves were just decimated by injuries last year, and it really put a snag in their season from the start, with Rubio still recovering from his ACL tear and Kevin Love missing a lot of time with his hand fractures. They were missing 2 major building blocks.
And the first one drops. And with the Wolves last year, Ricky Rubio came back and helped them turn things around a bit. But Kevin Love would end up playing very few games for him, Steve. And they never really got the chance that they once seemed to have.
Now, Love's injury, I think, just devastated this team. And Rubio, of course, coming off that ACL, he eventually made it back. But those are the key guys. I mean, Rubio and Love have to be the foundation of this club. They added a lot of three-point shooting in the offseason. So this should be a pretty well-rounded team. But it's up to the stars, Kevin.
Parker kicks to Leonard. The offensive rebound. And the rejection by Love. Now, here's Rubio, defended by Splitter. Magician, that's in, coming off an assist from Rubio. 10 points for Magician.
Well, they've settled into their offense very quickly here today.
Yeah, they're zoned in, making the most out of their possessions here.
And there's the feed to Leonard. Back to Parker. He kicks to Duncan. He's going up against Love. Will it go? And he didn't get quite enough under that one. Minnesota leading by 10. Right now, let's go to Doris Burke, who spoke with Rick Adelman. Doris?
He knows this won't be an easy game, especially defensively. And he talked about how difficult it is to contain shooting guard Manu Ginobili. He told me Ginobili is one of those right-brain scorers. He just sees the game just slightly differently. An angle to get by his man or an opportunity to draw contact. And of course, he can really do it all. Drive, shoot, and pass. Kevin, Ginobili, without a doubt, one of the more well-rounded and competitive players in the entire league.
And thank you, Doris. And some changes here for the Spurs. Baines is checked in, and Boris Diaw is subbed for Tim Duncan. Timberwolves have gone 5 of 9 from the field here in the first. Magician in a two-guard. Shang is out there with Kevin Love. Then it's Corey Brewer. And it's Rubio in at the one spot. So that's the lineup for Minnesota. Parker kicks to Leonard. His three-pointers off the mark. Last game for the Spurs. They want to turn it around after the loss to the Atlanta Hawks.
But, you know, they don't have anything to be ashamed about from that game. It was a good effort from them all around. They just needed another break or two that just didn't happen.
Yeah, you know, both teams can't win. You know, it comes down to a play or two either way. I thought both deserved to win, but only one could.
Here's Ginobili after the made shot from Magician. Parker off the pick from Splitter. It's good, and he drew contact on the shot, so he will go to the line. A three-point play chance here. And, guys, what do you think about the hustle stance for Minnesota?
Early on, guys, excellent work on the boards here. I mean, you got to like those second chance points they're getting.
Yeah, and I've noticed also that their quick hands have led to a lot of forced turnovers. They're getting some points in transition as a result.
And that one falls for Splitter.
Guys, you go back to the shortened season a year before last, and the Spurs were the best team on the road, but last year they weren't nearly as dominant on the road. Still solid when leaving San Antonio, but far from the level they played at a couple of seasons ago. Well, it looks like he's cooled down a bit after hitting those two in the first quarter.
Parker left side. Ginobili outside Leonard. And a miss there with a chance to cut the lead to single digits. And for the Spurs on the road last season, they would still win 23 games in hostile territory. And while that is more than the 22, Steve, they won in the shortened season, they also lost a fair amount more as well.
Well, for the Spurs, Kevin, I think they did what they needed to do. You know, the Spurs manage the regular season. They know when to turn it on and when they can maybe relax a little bit. The big thing is they just want to stay near 500 on the road, protect their home court, and be healthy going into the playoffs, and that puts them in a good position.
I think they need to get much more disruptive defensively. They can't just keep allowing these easy baskets.
I agree. They need more energy in the post, maybe some double teaming. They've got to get their defense in gear.
Now, here's Rubio. The pass to Magician. The three. That's in. Coming off an assist from Rubio. Rubio's got assist number 7 for him tonight.
You know, guys, I think back to some of the most exciting passers ever to play the game. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, the late Pete Maravich come to mind. I think Rubio is of that ilk. You think about those guys, they weren't just great assist guys, but they were able to give you assists that had some flair and some flavor to it.
Starting to get a little momentum here after that scoreless first quarter.
Timberwolves leading by 11. Pass to Magician. Feeds it to Love. But they get it back. Passes it to Magician. And out of bounds as the Spurs gain possession. With this break, a look at our 2K leaderboard and the top passing centers and power forwards over the course of the past 10 games. In the third spot, Tim Duncan.
Well, it takes tremendous feel for the game to be able to make the passes these big guys are capable of making out of that low post area.
Absolutely, Steve. I mean, these fellas play in the high traffic area on the court, so the passing lanes for them are a lot tighter than they are out on the perimeter. Not nearly as much room.
Here's what San Antonio's going with right now. Boris Diaz checked in for Splitter. Damian James comes in for Kawhi Leonard. And it's Green in for Manu Ginobili. So it's San Antonio now. 11-point game. Diaw, the screen. Parker drives in. No dig there, and that would have cut it to single digits. And the basket by Diaw.
Boy, where was the box out? Too easy on that second chance opportunity.
Yeah, no box out is what happened there. Those kind of mistakes on the glass will kill a team.
Here's Barea. He had 10 points in the win against Oklahoma City. Now the pass to Magician. The three. The shot misses. And it's the Spurs taking it the other way. This, their first chance to take a look at Minnesota this season.
Well, there was a lot separating these two teams in the standings a year ago, but they played each other to a draw. They split the season series.
The basket drops, and he gets fouled on the shot. One free throw coming his way.
He's very savvy in traffic. When he gets inside, he has a kind of an uncanny way of shielding himself from contact and finding a way to finish at the rim.
Steve, it has to be said here that he operates the pick and roll to perfection. I mean, he delights in running unwitting defenders or blindside picking guys so that he can end up rolling into a basket.
Close game as we wrap up the second quarter. Timberwolves lead by 5. We'll see you after halftime for the beginning of the third quarter.
And now, brought to you by Sprint.
It's Wednesday night at the 2K Sports Studio, and this is the halftime report. The Minnesota Timberwolves have the lead against San Antonio. They're on a winning streak and look well on their way to adding another W. They're really working that ball around, doing a nice job keeping the D off balance. Kevin Love not having very much difficulty against the Spurs. Seems like everything's falling for him. Not sure if he even knows how to miss. And for the Spurs, they're still gutting it out. Hard to find a lot to like about their performance so far. They'll need to pay much better attention in the second half to the details. The details. Kawhi Leonard has not had a good showing. An abysmal field goal percentage. The shot not cooperating. That's it for us here in the studio. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.
And now the start of the second half. Neither side jumping out ahead through the first two quarters.
You know, Love is playing well. He's got 16 points, and he's done a little bit of work behind the arc. He's got a pair of three-pointers.
Well, the defenders have that in the back of their minds now, too, so they're going to close out on him quicker. That should allow him to use the drive if he wants.
Here's who Greg Popovich is starting in the second half. Down low, it's Duncan and Splitter. Ginobili and Leonard on the wing. And it's Parker in at the point guard.
Boy, that is just good stuff for him. Nice touch.
And let's catch up with our sideline reporter, Doris Burke. Doris, over to you.
He picked up 18 points and was effective from long range as he got that scoring line by dropping in a good amount of threes. Just a poor shooting performance from him as he never got it going, missing shot after shot. He'll look to right the ship in this one, Kevin.
Thank you, Doris. Great job. You know, even the best players have weak games, Clark, and I think we saw that pretty clearly.
Absolutely, but the difference comes in how do you respond. Do you get down and stay down and get in a slump, or do you bounce back, pop back like a jack-in-the-box and come even stronger the next time?
Well, I would expect him to do just that, Clark. This is a guy who's very mentally tough. I would think he'll bounce right back and have a good one tonight.
You know, the Spurs really have a cohesive culture, and part of that is something that Greg Popovich has been able to do, and that's being able to join guys together that normally might not hang out. For instance, you had Matt Bonner taking Steven Jackson out to a Coldplay concert last season. One way to help guys get to know each other off the court, and it helps them on the court.
And here in the second half of play, we're just over a minute in. Pass to Duncan. Working on Love. Puts it up from 12, and it's blocked by Love. Rubio with it. Love with the screen for Rubio. Got freed up. Nice work off the pick. 20 points for Magician. And back to Popovich and the Spurs, he really makes a point of getting to know his players and have them get to know one another.
That's right, Kevin. He likes to have his players have a sense of perspective about the world. He wants them to know that there are other things going on besides the NBA. In fact, back in 2012, he had the players watching the presidential debates together.
Clock is at 3. And count it. 2 points with a chance for one more at the free throw line.
You know, he didn't need to make the layup complicated. I mean, it's not a trick shot contest, but he decided to go for a little extra flavor on that one.
Free throw good by Parker.
You know, the Timberwolves have taken on an increasingly international character. Players like J.J. Barea, Rubio, Nikola Pekovic, and Alexei Shved, all important contributors.
Now, here's Rubio. Here's Magician. He dishes it to Brewer. Puts it up from 12. And the Timberwolves tack on 2 more. And Clark, a lot of European players used to this cold weather. Maybe that's why the Timberwolves need to go after it.
Well, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But they've had pretty good luck with the international players. Some good talent that they've put together.
Here's Parker after the made shot from Brewer. And it's Duncan penetrating to the inside. Splitter. And so he draws the foul on the shot. A trip to the line to shoot 2.
Well, if you're going to learn from someone, you might as well take some lessons from Tim Duncan. That's what Thiago Splitter has done in San Antonio, really kind of growing up under the tutelage of one of the great players of all time.
And that one falls for Splitter. And Splitter taken 28th by the Spurs way back in the 2007 draft, but they had to wait 3 seasons, Clark, for him to come over from Spain. And as Greg Popovich was saying just this past season, he's finally showing what he can do because he's been healthy.
Yeah, agreed, Kevin. And I think it was a wait worth making, quite honestly. I mean, one of the premier backup centers in the NBA the last 3 seasons. And he earned himself a nice payday with his new contract, too.
Minnesota leading by 7. Rubio outside. He passes to Magician. And so he earns a trip to the line. Officials saw the contact and he'll shoot 2.
You know, a big part of why the Spurs were so good last season, guys, was that they were able to finish games strong. You think a group of vets might run out of gas, but the opposite was true with this group. They turned it up down the stretch and were one of the most productive teams in the league in terms of fourth quarter points.
That free throw good from Magician. Well, Clark, a big part of why the Spurs were so good last year in the fourth was because they had so many options when possessions, you know, Steve, start getting critical and the game is tight.
Well, no question. You got Parker to create off the dribble. You can always throw it into the low post to Duncan. But on top of that, you've got a roster full of guys who understand how to play the game and know how to play each other. Just the experience that this group has gained together over the years, I think, allows them to execute under pressure.
Now here's Parker. He's got 8. Day dishes to Leonard. Rebound by Dang. Jang's got his 5th rebound in this one.
Still a bit chilly from the field at the start of this 3rd quarter. 1 of 4 so far.
Here's Magician. Excellent D from Leonard. Spurs trail by 9. Kicks it to Ginobili.